Let us get right into the meat of the matter. I'm going to invite first Mr. Jean-Paul Menu, and I got it right the second time. And he has been the host of the Masters, who we have all been following on social media. And he's going to have conversation with the Masters. After which we have the guest speaker who will come right after him, Mr. Stephen Gooden, Chief Executive Officer of NCB Capital Market. And more importantly, a past champion of the Today's Money Masters competition.
Welcome to the finale, ladies and gentlemen, of the Masters competition. Today we are happy to be joined by our three professional Masters. Something seems to have, an emergency must have come up for Mr. Richard Longmore, who was our novice in the competition from the Jamaica Racing Commission. But please give a warm round of applause again for Mr. Shrevon Legister from Proven Wealth. Thank you. Mr. Tamar Jackson from NCB Capital Markets. And Mr. Andre Yap from the Credit Union Fund Management Company Limited. Okay, so just wanted to have a brief word with our Masters this year, with the exception of the original Masters competition from ages ago that Mr. Gooden was the proud winner of. We want to just have a little chat with you guys to see how the competition went. So Timar, let's start with you in the middle. What's the greatest takeaway for you from the season?
Yes, so there were actually a few lessons that I would have learned over the course of this competition.
Okay.
First, it was one of the things I would have mentioned in one of the video shoots, and that was the fact that this investing thing is a lot about brains, but at the same time it's about guts. You have to spend the time to do the research, really understand the companies that you're investing in. But what you plan, the market has a mind of its own, so you kind of have to be prepared that for some time the market might not see things as you see it.
Right.
The fundamentals might be good, and the market might not see it that way, and it might take some time for fundamentals, the price to catch up with the fundamentals. So that's the first one. So I had to learn how to keep a steady brain, in those times when stocks that I thought were, deserving of really higher valuation weren't performing so well. I stuck to my guns. One of those stocks was Separate. When I bought Separate initially in the competition, thought it was ready to take off. And for some time the stock struggled and I had to let it go. And then I bought it towards the end of the competition, and I saw some real gains there. So that was a really good lesson for me. I think they are valuable lessons to learn at this time. As I progress in my career.
All right, good. You guys were really sort of the guinea pigs for this round of the competition. I mean, this first year, when the competition started, the market was at its highest, I think, that it has been.
Yes.
And so we kind of came out with a bang, and then it was a little rough patch after that. Andre, using hindsight, ironically, 2020 hindsight vision, how would you have done things differently, especially then with the introduction of this international COVID disaster that's come upon us?
Firstly, I don't really like the guinea pig characterization. I think it was aimed at me. I'm round.
I wasn't looking at you specifically.
I feel victimized by that characterization.
Always.
I just like express that for the audience. I'm hurt right now. Very hurt. But using 2020 vision in hindsight, I think for me, what I would have done differently is aggression would have been turned up a bit more. There are times when I was in the money and I could have taken my gains. I mentioned this earlier, a mentor of mine one of his whole thesis when I was working with him was that you don't really sit around and massage gains. You take it while it's there on offer, because gains today could be losses tomorrow.
Right.
So that would have been one thing that I'd have implemented. Other than that, I could have just sat around and done nothing for the entire competition and waited until March when the market just dropped roof, and then went in there and easy sailing. I could have bought anything and I'd be winning right now. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think I spoke on it earlier about hindsight and 2020. I try to reflect on it to learn, but not so much to publicly nitpick myself and my fellow competitors, but that's about it.
Sure. Okay. That's fair. All right. And Siobhan Legister from Proven Wealth, what was the greatest challenge that the market provided over this year period for you?
Thanks, Sean Paul. So I think that leaves me to sum up what we all encountered throughout the year. So as you rightly said, that when the competition started, the market was at its high. And the market has been booming for some time now. So the truth is that we were operating or investing under the assumption of a bullish market, right? So by the time the money dropped and we started to invest, we were buying at that extremely high prices. The truth is that we had a large GOJ maturity that pumped money in the market, and a lot of investors sought to seek stocks.
Right.
Clearly, rates are low. That's where everyone is driving to now. And you can't really bet on foreign exchange like before, right? It's just unfortunate that after we entered in July, if you look at the month-over-month returns and even the year-to-date returns subsequent to July, they were always lower than July, and that just required us to initially, change in strategy. I mean, in one of my previous interviews, I would have spoken about churning my account too much, which would be just doing too much trading just to try to get ahead, of everyone else, and that really didn't work in my favor initially. Then we had other stuff going on in the market. By November, you had the GMMB APO. Persons really started to capitalize on gains from what they would have benefited from before, to go into that APO. Then you had persons who were anticipating other large transactions, such as Trans-Jamaican Highway, right? Okay. So we can't forget about those things that would have happened throughout the year, and that sort of pulled money from some of these stocks, which we thought weren't at their highest point. And then finally, I'm sure all my colleagues within the competition would have been anticipating to close the year with a bang. Clearly, we were waiting on TJH, and by March, we got something else with TJH, right? So when you have a COVID situation, which tanked the market. I remember my biggest regret was just not cashing out at the time. And I had a colleague that told me that, just sell. And I said, no man, why, but I didn't, clearly, I wouldn't have known how much the market would have been affected. And, those are the challenges that we faced overall. That March, I think portfolios probably had hope of returning to the principal and even surpassing it, until the effects of COVID hit our market. And that sums up the challenges. But overall it was a great experience.
Great. Certainly it has been a challenging year, but it has been a pleasure having you all on the program. So I want to big you up, and I think I can say that win or lose, you all represented your companies very well. So if you could please give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Siobhan Legister, Timar Jackson, and Andre Yap. So there you have it, guys.
Why can't Jamaica become a financial hub globally? Right? When you look at all the positives, right? We have first-class technology and platforms. Right? The JC platform that we use is the same platform that NASDAQ uses, right? Right? When you talk about, the custody of securities, settlement and all of those things, we have first-class infrastructure. When you talk about the regulatory environment for a third world country, we are top of the class, and we continue to improve.
For me, what I would have done differently is aggression would have been turned up a bit more.
You have to spend the time to do the research, really understand the companies that you're investing in.
I'm sure all my, my colleagues within the competition would have been anticipating to close the year at a bang.
I left my glasses. So the winner of the 2020 Masters competition, the master is, from drum roll again, Andre Yap.